You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hi, welcome to the Subway ad for the new Sesame Ginger Glazed Chicken Signature Wrap. How would you like it?
I'll take a...
Sports announcer at home?
Yeah, how'd you...
We just know.
My wife picks up the new Signature Wrap. It's got double the rotisserie-style chicken mixed with a sesame ginger glaze. She appears annoyed at me, but she shrugs it off. Those sweet and savory flavors are calling her name. She lifts the wrap and... she takes the bite! Incredible! And now she's closing the door on my... Subway, make it what you want.
Limited time only at participating restaurants. Double meat based on average 6-inch sub.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
We gotta do something. Absolutely. You know what we gotta do? Toga party.
Toga! Toga!
Toga! Toga! Toga! Toga! Toga! Toga! Toga!
Click, click, boom! I'm coming down on the stereo, put me on the radio. Click, click, boom!
I want you to kill every golfer on the course.
Check me if I'm wrong, Sandy, but if I kill all the golfers, they're gonna lock me up and throw away the key.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh?
It is Hump Day, which means it's time for the Robinson and Wright Show. We are the 3 of the 4 hours of the fastest conservative grassroots talk radio anywhere right here on KLRNradio.com. I am one half of the crew, Mr. Rick Robinson. He's the other half, Mr. Dan Wright. Good evening, sir. How are you? Welcome back from your vacation, sir.
I'm good. You'll notice, again, my voice sounding a little gone, but it's a good thing because last Wednesday and Thursday, I completely lost my voice. So now you know how my vacation went.
Nice. Yeah, we were talking about that before. We actually changed over to live mics, and I was saying the same thing happened to me. Last time I took any time off, I was sick the whole time I was off, and I'm just like, this is... I don't like getting old, to be honest, because it's like anytime I think I'm going to be able... I'm going to take a couple days off from the day job. I'm going to be able to do some stuff around here, going to get some radio stuff done. All I want to do is sleep for the whole time I'm not doing the day job thing. And then I'm so exhausted half the time, by the time I get home from the day job, most of the time I can't find time to do half the things I still want to do for all the station stuff and everything else. And I'm just like, I miss being like in my 30s, because it seemed like I had so much more energy when I was in my 30s.
Yeah. I mean, I still, I felt it started, that 2 Saturdays ago, I was feeling fine. And then, as you know, we went to the drag races on Sunday, and I started feeling like crap, and Laura was already sick, and we still went. We had a good time, but so then I ended up basically sick for the whole week. But I got everything done I pretty much wanted to get done. I just kind of said, well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to go out and sweat it out. So I went out and did all the landscaping in our front yard and got the porch all ready, because we got a huge front porch on our house, covered front porch that we pretty much spend the summer on. We got that all cleaned up and fixed up, and I ran some new electrical outlets out there, and I got a lot done, but it's still just kind of like, I feel crappy. But I guess if there's any time to kind of catch that real nice summer cold, I guess it's when you're off, so you don't have to go to work.
I mean, there's never a good time to catch a summer cold, but I mean, that would be the better of the options. The thing for me is I'm still vacillating back and forth. I've been pretty much sick off and on since January again. It's just like it's nonstop. I shake it off for a few days, and then I start cutting back on the medicine I was taking, to test it. Am I actually better now, or was it just the medicine making me feel better again? The good news is this is the most consecutive time within the last 5 days that I've been able to cut drastically back on the medicine I've been taking. So I'm really hoping that maybe I'm finally kicking whatever this was. What scares me is I work in a building with no ventilation and no windows, and people keep bringing things like bronchitis back in with them, because we have one of those jobs where if you miss too much, they start yelling at you. So I'm pretty sure we're kicking around things like pneumonia and bronchitis nonstop.
Oh yeah, I've been. This has been a terrible winter, and I mean, I'm not in the same situation as you, but 75% of my customers are hospitals and medical facilities. So I'm pretty much exposed to just about everything out there. And this past winter and into this spring, it's just been terrible. I've been sick more than I've been well. I mean, and it's been that way for a lot of people. I mean, Laura too, she works in, retail customer service, and she's been sick half the winter too. Yeah, I just think it was a bad winter. I think if it was out there, we both got it. Whatever was out there this year, we both absolutely had it. So I guess the bright side to that is that most viruses, once you have them, you can't get them again.
Yeah, well, I would like to say that were true for me, but I don't know, because bronchitis for me has been like the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, yeah, but bronchitis is caused by the viruses. I mean, bronchitis is an infection, and I get it bad too because I have so many allergies. I mean, I'll have pollen will end up giving me bronchitis, which is probably why I have it. Well, I don't know that I have bronchitis. Laura definitely does, but I'm trying to kick it without going to the doctor, and so far I seem to be getting slightly better every day.
Yeah, I haven't tried to go to the doctor yet. My wife keeps yelling at me because I haven't gone to the doctor yet, but I don't like the fact that thanks to Obamacare, I have to pay a copay now, because I didn't used to have to pay copays. I know it's not much money, but it's still money that I didn't used to have to spend, and it pisses me off that I have to spend it. But anyway, so enough about me whining about being old and sick. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I did. The other thing we talked about, I did the whole take a week off and then got back to work and had to kind of, for some reason, cram a week's worth of work into the last couple of days.
Suze, if you're catching the flu listening to us, then the last thing we needed to do is transition to porn. Imagine what you'd catch then. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, like yesterday they put me on warranty detail. I always love warranty detail because yesterday I had 6 stops and drove over 300 miles.
Nice. You know, that's the one thing I miss about running my own company when I did, because I spent a lot of time on the road. And I miss driving. 'Cause now I drive a lot still, unfortunately, because I drive an hour to the day job and an hour away from the day job. But the rest of the time I'm sitting in a cube. I don't like sitting in a cube.
Yeah, I couldn't handle that. I couldn't. I mean, I you know, more power to everybody has to do it, because I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. But at the same time, sitting, I mean, when you go and you look at a warranty situation and it takes you 5 minutes to fix it, and it took you an hour and a half to drive there, and then you've got another hour and a half to your next stop. Just sitting in the truck starts to get a little old.
Yeah, no, I can kind of see that too. Because the funny thing is, when I drove a lot, I used to complain about having to drive a lot. Now that I don't have to, I'm complaining about not driving. I've just kind of figured out that it's just one of those things where I'm never really happy because I'm not doing what I want to be doing full time, which is this. And anytime I think I'm getting closer, there's always somehow, some way that the brakes get put on, and it really, really kind of annoys me. But we won't go into that either, because there's plenty of other things that we should actually be talking about, because we actually have people paying attention to us in chat today. So we should probably be professionals and stuff. So anyway, what do you want to talk about first? Because it's not like there's any shortage of things to talk about.
Contempt of Congress.
Can I just say this? And I said this, Chad Benson and I actually occasionally talk to each other on Twitter. I've gotten to know him a little bit because the station that I kind of fill in for from time to time is one of the ones that carries him. And he was talking about that today. So once I was not driving anymore, I finally just tweeted him and said, look, man, I don't really care if Congress holds Barr in contempt, because I find most of Congress contemptible, so I really don't care. But the thing that he keeps pointing out is nobody really cares about any of this except for the people that are glued to their TVs watching Fox News and everything else, because that's all they care about, because most of the rest of us are just going about our lives, doing our day job thing, doing whatever else we got to do to make sure our families are taken care of, and this has no direct impact on any of us. But what terrifies me about all of this is we have people that are in Congress that are basically trying to force a sitting attorney general to violate the law to avoid contempt of Congress.
Right.
Because that's what we're talking about here.
They are actually saying, you need to break the law or we're going to hold you in contempt of Congress. Now, this is where I'm really starting to get unbelievably perturbed, is we have all of these people in Congress, and their job is supposed to be lawmakers. And it seems to me like they really just spend most of their time we're paying them for to try to find ways to impeach Trump. Is that what they were sent there for?
No.
Is that what we're paying them for?
I want to know why we're paying them at all. I've mentioned this before, and it's been a recurring theme of mine for a long time, all the way back to the show that started all of this, which was Finding Common Ground. One of the points that I make a lot is, when Congress was founded, it was not a paid position. They got per diem for the time that they were traveling to and from, because back then it took weeks to get to D.C. They spent 2 or 3 months in D.C. to do what they needed to do, and then they went back home. I don't understand why, with the way technology is today, these people cannot do the job of being in Congress and being part of the Senate from their homes and do their own regular day jobs, keep up with their constituents, and take the votes, because it's not like we can't do all of this crap electronically now. Why do they need the buffer zone of DC anymore? It made sense before. It doesn't make sense now. It also doesn't make sense that these people, some of them are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, not even just talking about Congress at this point, but sitting senators who are telling me that I don't pay enough in taxes, who have made $2 million off of a book deal, and then scoffed when they asked him why he didn't pay more in taxes because he believes in socialism, and he laughs and says, I only pay the taxes that I have to pay. Well, that goes back to the same thing that the New York Times is ranting and raving about today, because they finally got to look at some of Donald Trump's finances under the hood from years ago, and he was reporting billions of dollars in losses. What they don't realize is he put out a book that told everybody all of this in the 90s. He said, yes, I lost a lot of money. Yes, I made some dumb decisions business-wise, but I came back. Guys, as somebody who has built businesses, as somebody who has lost businesses, let me explain to you the difference between a successful businessman and a businessman who is a failure. The only thing that makes you a failure is when you stop trying.
That's right. And what they also fail to see is that a bunch of that money he lost was at a time when a bunch of people lost a bunch of money, because we had a very serious real estate crash. And what was Trump's main source of income? Real estate.
But yeah, I mean, that's like you hear CNN all the time and all these little liberal newspapers and everybody else. Look at all the money Trump lost in the Atlantic City casino scene. Everybody lost money in the Atlantic City casino scene. It wasn't just Trump. Everybody who invested there lost their shirt because it fell apart. It wasn't just Trump. Why are you guys so focused on Trump? Because here's the other thing. Because this is the other thing the New York Times is trying to shove up everybody's you-know-what sideways, is the fact that he was able to write off so many of these losses. Guys, those are the tax codes. That's how they're written. Everything he was able to do was legal. That's why I kept telling everybody, if you've never seen a business return that files taxes, you're not going to understand what you're looking at anyway, because that's the whole point of building a business, because at some point if you fail, the government's going to help you bail yourself back out. That's why they're willing to take the risks that they take. The government is willing to do that because more of them succeed than fail, and they know that. But they also know that with that safety net in place, it's going to encourage people to go out, start businesses, and that way if it falls too flat, they're going to be able to write things off for a while just to see if they can keep it going. I mean, technically, we could be doing that here. We are a business. We are a corporate filing. I could be writing off things for donated airtime and all the other things that we're doing. I'm not doing that right now because we only get to do that a couple of times. And when we're ready to start doing that, I want to make sure that we can put it to good use. But the things that everybody's freaking out about are legal. And, anybody who understands the tax code understands how it works. It's not the rich people's fault that they know how to play the game better than the poor people. It's really not their fault.
No, it's not at all. I mean, they sit there and I see all this stuff going around social media. See, Trump's just a failure. He lost billions. Guess what? He's still a billionaire.
Yeah,
he's still a billionaire.
I mean, the thing about it is, if you really get a look under the hood, he's probably got maybe $500 million to $1 billion in what would be considered liquid assets. Everything else is tied up in paper money or real estate. But it doesn't mean that he's not successful. But that's also, I think, one of the biggest reasons that Donald Trump was fighting everybody getting a look under the hood, so to speak, because he's been able to push himself into the point where everybody thinks that he has all of this money. And let's be real, he has a lot of money, but he doesn't have nearly the amount that he's been pushing that he has. And that's the real reason why he wasn't wanting anybody to get a look at his taxes. Not because he's done anything shady or illegal, but because he does what everybody else does. I mean, at this point,
He embellishes.
I mean, come on, who hasn't told a fish story? And let's be really honest, when you've got the kind of money that he's got floating around, he probably doesn't even know how much money he actually has. He has people to take care of that stuff for him. So for all we know, they're embellishing to him because we've all seen how he acts when he gets pissy. I would probably lie to him too. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing, and the other thing I see is them saying it was his father's money, and look, he just lost it all. No. He was left, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in the area of about 100 to 125 million. He turned it into billions. Whether it's real estate holdings or whatever creates that billions, he turned it into billions. He did. He's they say, well, he's not a smart businessman. Well, when you're dabbling in stuff like real estate and you're dabbling in stuff like Atlantic City and casinos, you're taking risks. Real estate it's not, when you're looking at it's a little more stable in the housing markets. But when you're looking at commercial real estate, it can be very risky. I mean, I saw it here in Charlotte, 6-8 years ago. I saw a whole area of Charlotte just basically poof over the span of about 4 or 5 years, pretty much disappear, turn into a ghost town. It just disappeared. People own that real estate. There's still buildings in that area. It's regenerating. It's coming back a little bit, but there's one building. There's an office building, a fairly nice office building in that area, about a 10-story office building that's completely vacant with a huge for sale banner on top of it. Real estate is risky.
Well, the thing about it is, honestly, let's be real. Starting any business is risky. There's no such thing as starting a safe business. Sometimes you get lucky and you fall into something that completely takes off and you weren't expecting it to, but there are still risks. I've gone from the point where at one point, if you look at my paper assets, I was making about $275,000 a year, to now my wife and I are lucky if together we clear 60. Because there were things that fell apart when the economy crashed. And I'm not complaining about that. I'm just pointing out the reason why I told everybody up front, if you ever get a look at this man's tax returns, you're not going to understand them, because most of you file what's called a 1040 easy form. It's pretty simple. It's fill in the blank. Most of you now can do it on a computer. Probably charges you about $30 for the software. It electronically files it for you. You don't even give it a second thought because you're just clicking buttons on a computer. But if you actually are trying to do a business return, there are things that there's mileage expenses, there's upkeep expenses, there's depreciation, there's all these things that they can claim that are ways for them to recoup some of the money that they've invested and possibly lost. And yes, it's a huge shell game, and I will freely admit it's a huge shell game, and it's one of the reasons why I've always been a fan of more of the fair tax rather than the progressive tax, because it's a mess. It's a convoluted system. It takes more books than the tax code takes up more room than a set of encyclopedias, and you don't understand how any of it works. And the thing about it is, they don't want you to understand how any of it works because they know most of you can't hire a tax attorney to weave through and bob and dodge all of the different ins and outs. Luckily, I had a friend who was a damn good accountant, so she basically, when I was running the security firm that I ran for 18 years, she made sure that I squeezed every penny right back out of the federal government because she knew that I hated taxes to begin with.
Yeah, and that's the way a smart businessman is going to run his business. Yeah, and back to like what you said, I don't even do a 1040 EZ. I do a straight 1040. My taxes, my federal taxes, when I get done, it's about 10 to 12 pages long. I can guarantee you that Trump's yearly taxes are thousands and thousands of pages. Thousands of pages. It's like a triple phone book. That's what they're like. That's why presidential candidates have to submit an income and wealth form, basically is what it is, which is a simplified, this is where I get my income from, this is what I hold, these are my assets. That's all they are required to submit. This whole Trump needs to submit Like freaking California is trying to keep Trump off the ballot by passing a law that says any presidential candidate that is going to be on the ballot has to submit their taxes.
Yeah, well, they kind of screwed up when they passed that law, at least from the little bit that I've been able to see of it, because they said they had to submit a certain number of years, but there was nothing about them being sequential or any given order. So I would be a complete and total smartass in that instance and be like, here's my taxes from 1990, here's my taxes from 2000.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What everything boils down to that's going on right now is all just to get Trump out of office. And I don't understand, because it seems like everybody's doing pretty well. I mean, why do they so badly want him out of office when everybody seems to be doing well?
But that's why. That's exactly why. I mean, think about it. Donald Trump in 2 years has proven Barack Obama the biggest liar on the face of the earth. Barack Obama told us 2% GDP was the new normal. When Donald Trump started running for president and started saying, I'm going to bring manufacturing jobs back to America, Barack Obama said that he was a lying, narcissistic psychopath because those jobs were never going to come back, and we might as well get used to it because 2% is the new normal. Barack Obama literally said, sorry, Ron, but it's true, that the only way Donald Trump was going to be able to bring those jobs back was with a magic wand. Donald Trump's been in office, it's not even 3 years yet, and basically he looked at Barack Obama and said, abracadabra, bitch, because here they come.
Yeah, it's what progressives like to... Progressives don't want the country to be successful, especially under a Republican president. They do not. They wish and hope and pray for everything to be horrible.
I mean, they don't even want the country to be successful under a Democratic president, because the more successful we are as a country, the less we need our government. And the socialists do not want us to not need our government. That's why they're terrified right now. That's why they're doing everything they can to tarnish Donald Trump at this point. And he's doing a really good job of that on his own, so please don't misunderstand me. There are plenty of things that he's saying and doing that I don't agree with. But at the end of the day, whether you think he's the jock, whether you think he's freaking the Leslie Nielsen of presidents, and he's basically just going from slapstick moment to slapstick moment, and somehow it's all still working, it doesn't matter, because the simple fact of the matter is it's working. But now you've got the Democrats, because let's not forget, Joe Biden once said that Barr was one of the most honorable people that he knew years ago. Now he's telling everybody that they can't trust him because the Mueller report didn't yield what they hoped it was going to yield. Now they're trying to get Mueller to come and testify in front of Congress. I have news for you. The DOJ cannot do specifically what Congress is trying to get Mueller to do. They cannot editorialize. They are not supposed to hold press conference types briefings where they slander someone when they haven't been able to put any charges forward. They have the DOJ has one job, and it's not to editorialize. It's to indict or not to indict. Mueller chose not to indict. Therefore, he cannot do what Congress is trying to get him to do. Barr had one job, and that was to look at the Mueller report with his assistant AG after Mueller basically gave Trump the double-fisted double bird and said, screw you, I don't like you, so I'm not going to exonerate you for obstruction. They looked at it, they couldn't find anything, because even Mueller said multiple times, even though there are things that are here that I don't necessarily agree with obstruction you have to have intent, and I don't think he had any intent to obstruct. It was just Trump being Trump and being loud and boisterous. He said that over and over and over again, but then he left it hanging. So now you've got the Democrats banging the drum now that Trump is unpatriotic. Even though we weren't able to prove it, we know he's working with the Russians. He's unpatriotic. It's un-American. He's a traitor. And it's crap. But they're not going to stop because they have half of the country that was already pissed off that he got elected president in the first place. They've got half of the country that wants to get rid of the Electoral College because they don't think it's fair that Hillary Clinton lost the popular vote and somehow didn't get or won the popular vote but lost the presidency. The ironic point about that is she only won the Democratic nomination because the Democrats had basically the same setup as an Electoral College within their own grouping. But that's a story for another day. I mean, it's just asinine. All of it. None of it makes any sense, but it all comes back to this one point. They do not want us successful because they want us reliant on the government. And the more regulation Donald Trump gets rid of, the more money we get to put back in our own pockets that was ours to begin with, the less reliant we are on the very government that the Democrats want us beholden to.
That's absolutely correct. It's you can go right back to Hillary. It takes a village. It doesn't take a village. Individualism is the key to success in this country. And they don't like that. They want everybody to get in line. They want everybody they want us all to be sheep. And the crazy thing is Democratic voters, they want to be sheep. Well, I don't want to be a sheep. Don't force me to be a sheep just because you want to be a sheep.
I mean, I don't understand because, there used to be a time when I honestly believed that Democrats and Republicans, for the most part, and I'm not talking about the politicians at this point, but I've honestly believed that, everyday Americans, whether they were Democrats, Republicans, independents, libertarians, at the end of the day, we always seem to have basically wanted the same things. We might have had slightly different ideas about how we were going to get there, but we all basically kind of wanted the same things. That's not true anymore. It's really not. And it comes back to a point that I've been making thanks to a good friend of ours, Stacey Lennox, for a long time now. It comes down to one very important question. Do you support the idea of liberty, or do you support the idea of collectivism? Because it's not about the letter behind your name anymore. It's about whether or not you want freedom from government or the tyranny of your government. Because it's one or the other. And if you don't believe me, look at what happened in Venezuela. Venezuela was one of the richest countries in South America until they decided to start this social justice crap, and they basically got rid of guns. They nationalized the oil industry, and now they're having to eat small rodents to survive because they don't have access to money anymore.
Well, because what socialism does is socialism creates dictatorships. And that's what they are now. They have a dictator. Have you seen the video? I guess it was from last week, of military vehicles in Venezuela just running people over. It's like the new Tiananmen Square video.
Yeah,
there's military vehicles. They're just willy-nilly just running protesters over with military vehicles.
That was day one, bro. By day two, they were shooting at him.
Yeah, and there's still people out there talking about this great model that Venezuela had of giving the oil industry back to the people and building houses and giving people food. Well, there is no food anymore. They're eating dogs. They're eating zoo animals.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and honestly, I don't know, because I couldn't ever really find any confirmed reports of this, but I kept seeing rumblings through these little bitty papers that at one point people were actually eating the deceased because they couldn't find any other forms of protein. I hope to God that's not true, but if it is, that's just gross.
If that's true, I mean, and there's still people out there that are praising the Venezuelan model. Well, there were problems there. It didn't work. It could work here.
Yeah,
it can't work here.
I believe it was Bernie Sanders somewhere around, 2012, 2013, that said that the Venezuelans were living the American dream better than the Americans were?
Actually, do you want to know who it was? I think Bernie may have said something like that. You know who else said it? Who it popped back up and is getting destroyed for it is Michael Moore.
Yeah, well, Michael Moore deserves to get destroyed. But yeah, I mean, it's all craziness. And it all comes back to, again, that one very simple concept. Do you want to be able to take care of yourself, or do you want the government to tell you how you should take care of yourself? Case in point, nobody's talking about this part of the abortion craziness that's going on right now, because we've now had a state senator in Alabama talk about kill them now, kill them later. We've had a state senator in Pennsylvania basically harassing people for,
harassing old women,
doxing
and
little kids,
offering $100 to dox teenage girls.
And
he's an elected official.
Not to mention him recently putting a nice big picture of himself flipping a bird on Twitter to VP Pence when he was going to be visiting his city. Now, the interesting thing about that, and the reason I bring this up, and again, this isn't me throwing stones. I understand that the Republicans have taken a pretty crass turn. But what annoys me about all of this is this was the party that just a week ago put out a video from Joe I Want to Sniff Your Hair Biden, otherwise known as, thanks to my good friend Ben, now Bad Touch Biden. I swear to God, if that was asked, I still may put it together anyway, because I had an idea, because there's actually a song called Bad Touch, and I was going to edit it together, but it's not ASCAP. I still may do it anyway, just for the hell of it. But, that basically said he wants to be the guy to bring civility and decency back to America, while he's got members of his own party saying, kill him now, kill him later, screw you, you Bible-thumping bastards, I'm going to have your kids docked for trying to pray for people that are trying to have abortions. I mean, it's just, we've lost our minds.
Well, I saw something, apparently our good friend, Representative Sims there in Philadelphia also posted something. I guess it might have been on Facebook. And he actually talked about it. But he goes to Planned Parenthood for his Viagra. Because he posted something on Facebook with a picture of his Viagra in his hands, talking about how he was starting his day off right and everything. Well, that's been screen grabbed and is starting to circulate all over the place. He's just an idiot.
So yeah, another little bit of Democratic craziness in the works. This is actually circa the Washington Examiner. Cory Booker wants to throw Americans in jail if they don't turn in their guns. According to the Washington Examiner, Cory Booker supports legislation that would throw Americans behind bars if they don't turn in their quote-unquote assault weapons. Booker is specifically referring to a buyback program where citizens turn in their guns so that they can later be sold to the government. The New Jersey senator and 2020 presidential hopeful declared that incarceration could be a possible option, or could be a possible option, after a reasonable period has elapsed after the buyback offer expires. Hey, Booker.
Right. So
I got two words, bro. Go ahead.
15. I mean, how many millions of quote unquote assault weapons are there out there?
I don't know.
15 million?
I don't know.
15 million? 16 million?
I don't know what you're talking about, bro. I got rid of all my guns. I ain't got none.
I mean, we have how many people incarcerated in this country right now?
Well,
it ain't nowhere near 15 million.
Again, as a reminder, I don't know the exact number, but per capita, the United States incarcerates more people than pretty much any other country on the planet, both male and female. Unfortunately, my state has the distinct honor of actually leading the pack there as well. So yeah, we have lots of people in jail. So we can just
But basically, my point is, so people like Booker and Swalwell, how do they think that they are going to enforce that? When, A, I know of plenty of states that wouldn't enforce it. So, the police departments in those states are not going to enforce that law. So what are they going to do? Are they going to send the army in to go house to house?
So
I can guarantee you will have a real problem with an awful lot of soldiers.
So
they're going to sit back and go, wait a minute.
Well, so here's the thing, and I don't know if this has been changed since Barack Obama left office, but there was something that happened with the Patriot Act that nobody really talks about. There is actually a federal police force now. You can sometimes see their cars going around D.C., and it says federal police, and it's a regular loaded out cruiser. It's got the markings on it. It says police. Along the side it says federal police. They've got uniforms. So that started happening under Bush. So I honestly am wondering if at some point they're not going to federalize most police in the country and try to make them do it.
I don't know. How can you federalize local and state jurisdictions? I just don't think you can do it. And I guarantee you, I know some cops. I know some cops that are going to be like, this ain't for me.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I'm not going to enforce these laws. I'm not going to do it.
I'm not necessarily saying that I would have been one of the ones to do it either, but I'm saying I'm really starting to think that these people are crazy enough to try it. I mean, let's not forget, we opened the show talking about Congress trying to get a sitting attorney general to violate the law just so they either can make him look like an idiot or get revenge for Eric Holder being found in contempt of Congress. But let's not forget, yes, Eric Holder was eventually found in contempt of Congress, but it was 280 days later when that finally happened because they kept saying, look, man, you really need to come talk to us about this. And for anybody, and this includes you, Jake the Moron Tapper, who is basically going around trying to draw comparisons between Fast and Furious and this, there was nothing considered compartmentalized about Fast and Furious when it came to like grand jury stuff and things like that. That's what they're having a fit about over the Mueller report. This thing was already as redacted as they could legally make it. They let everybody see pretty much everything that they can see that doesn't violate the law. And it's still not good enough for Congress because we've got to get rid of Trump at all costs. And it's not because Trump is bad for the country, which is what they're telling everybody. It's because for some reason, even though they like to say that he's the biggest failure that's ever walked the face of the earth, everything the man touches when it comes to our economy turns to gold.
Well, yeah, and there's another thing that it just doesn't. It's funny how this stuff doesn't get widely reported. There is a pretty close to completely unredacted copy of the report that was made available. I don't remember who exactly it was, but made available to 6 members of Congress to come and read if they so chose. They were allowed to come read it because they had the clearances to read it, and not one of them chose to go read it. Do you know why? I can tell you exactly why they chose not to go read it. Because it was a waste of their time, and they knew it was a waste of their time. It's all smoke and mirrors.
I mean,
it's all it is.
That's what all of this is. It's basically it's the congressional version of kabuki theater. They're doing nothing but wasting your time, wasting my time, wasting taxpayer dollars. I mean, let's be completely real and completely honest for just a second. Even if, by some miracle, the democratically held Congress manages to get enough votes together to impeach Trump, which I don't think I think a few of them are that damn dumb, but I don't think most of them are. Even if that happens, it's not going anywhere because they don't have control of the Senate. And they're not going to get control of the Senate. They want you to think that they have all of this momentum going with them. But you know the funny thing? The funny thing is, after Donald Trump got elected, there started to be this, what everybody was reporting as a shift at state levels, because a lot of state houses were starting to turn blue. A lot of governorships were starting to turn blue in certain places. And that got touted by the media and beat drum by the media. And it's going to be a blue wave. It's going to be a blue tsunami. We're going to take back everything at the midterms because it's all turning our way because everybody's finally realized that Donald Trump doesn't know what the hell he's doing. You know what they haven't talked about at all since the midterms? Every special election that's been held in this country since the midterms has gone red. Every single one. Every single one has gone red.
Well, and it's also, it's not an unusual trend for a Republican to take the White House, and especially have, when he takes the White House, have things pretty much stay pretty stagnant everywhere else, and then at midterms, have a lot of stuff turn. If there's a Republican in the White House, have a lot of states turn blue on governors. Or if there's a Democrat in the White House, have a lot of states turn red on governors, because some people will sit there and go, okay, well, I don't like the way things are going nationally, so maybe I'll vote this way or whatever. It's not an unusual trend. They made it sound like, see, we're taking it all, but they really aren't. I mean, I'm unhappy here in North Carolina with our governor. I mean, somehow here I am in what's supposed to be the red South, and I've got a socialist in the state house, but people here aren't real happy, and I think that's going to turn over the next election. You know, some people were very unhappy with McCrory. I wasn't. I thought he was fine. I mean, he was kind of the perfect fit for this state, because the state, North Carolina, is in some ways kind of the California of the East Coast. It's still a red state, but it's Charlotte, Raleigh, Asheville are all very blue. So we do get a lot of influence from these big popular areas in the state. But it's overall a red state. You're anywhere else other than those three areas, it's just straight red. But I see the shift kind of coming back, because people in Charlotte, even Democrats I know in Charlotte, are totally unhappy with the mayor and the city council in Charlotte. So I think Charlotte turns... You know, McCrory was the mayor of Charlotte, and then he went on to be the governor of North Carolina. Charlotte now has a Democrat mayor, and the state has a Democrat in the state house. But I see a shift coming back the other way. It's constantly shifting. You know, they scream and yell, yeah, woo, we turned North Carolina blue. You didn't really turn it blue. You got your guy in the state house for a few years. That's what you got. You did not turn the state blue. Everybody I know where I live is very unhappy with the governor. But that's just the way, it's kind of the way the country's moving too. I mean, sometimes your population centers are going to dictate the vote. Sometimes they're not. It seems like a lot of the people that voted the way they did the last election aren't real happy with the way they voted, because things have gone a little downhill here. When it all comes down to it, it doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican. If you don't like what's happening with your money, and you don't like what's happening with the things going on in your state, you're going to vote the other way, even if you won't admit it to your friends.
Yeah, I mean, that's like all the people that I talked to after the election that were like, dude, I'm talking like people from other states. I mean, and you've heard even Michael Loftus admit the same thing. He's like, I didn't tell anybody I voted for Trump until months later. He's like, I came out on stage.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't vote for Trump, and I got killed. I got killed for my vote all the way around. I mean, I did. I voted Libertarian in 2016, and I had people saying, well, if you didn't vote for Trump, you voted for Hillary. And I had people, friends, and even family. My own daughter told me, oh, you didn't vote for Hillary. You voted for that Libertarian guy. You're the reason Trump's the president now. Well, whatever, if that's what you think. But my vote is my vote, and I'm going to vote the way I want to.
I suddenly have a political Dr. Seuss book idea. But to again steal a line from our good friend Stacey Lennox, if me not voting for Trump helped, or me not voting for Hillary helped Trump get elected, then my not voting for Trump should have also helped Hillary get elected.
Exactly.
So it cancels each other out.
I looked at it when I voted. I didn't like Trump. and I'm the first one to admit, well, maybe I was wrong, because I am definitely not displeased with Trump. But I didn't vote for Trump because I didn't like him. I didn't vote for Hillary because I absolutely couldn't. So I opted out, and I voted for
Brownie Boy Johnson.
Brownie Boy and his liberal, quote-unquote, Republican running mate.
Well, so this became the deciding factor for me in the election cycle, because by the end of the cycle, we'd had the Republican candidates, the Republican candidate and his running mate, the Democratic candidate and her running mate, and the Libertarian candidate and his running mate all say that they were okay with a no-fly, no-buy. So if you take that off the table, because me being the guy that, first of all, that my issue with no-fly, no-buy is threefold. There's no controls of how you get on the list. There's no adjudication to get you off the list. So to arbitrarily say if you've been placed on a no-fly list, you can't own a firearm anymore, with no real way to get yourself taken off, to me, that's like the whole asset forfeiture thing. Oh, well, yeah, you may be found, that you didn't actually do any of these things later, but by then we'll have already seized your house, frozen your bank accounts, turned it all over to the Vice Squad so they can do whatever they want with it, and no, you don't get any of it back. No, screw you. That's not how any of this stuff is supposed to work. So you take that along with the fact that I didn't like Trump, and I really, really didn't like Hillary, and the only option I really had left was still Johnson, because, let's face it, I knew Johnson wasn't going to get elected. But at the same time, if it had somehow managed to happen, at least we finally would have broken the duopoly that infests this country's political system, and that really does piss me off.
Yeah, and I mean, Johnson fared as well as even a little bit better in some states than I expected him to. I mean, he did all right. And on to the other one, Weld, his running mate. If you remember a few weeks ago, Weld announced that he's going to try to primary Trump, and there was all this big heat over it for like 2 days. Have you heard anything from Weld since then?
Nope.
I think a lot of people on both sides, a lot of Republicans that don't like Trump, and a lot of Democrats looked into Weld and went, ugh, really?
Yeah. Look, if Weld tries it, he's not going to make it past Super Tuesday, so I don't think it's going to matter anyway. The only reason that I was even upset that anybody was talking about it is because Donald Trump has already put together a hell of a war chest, and if he does have to spend anything to try to fend off Weld, which at this point I don't think he would really have to spend too much. It might actually make it harder later. But with now, what are we up to? 11 billion Democrats now trying to run in the primary. So I mean,
I think we're at like 22 or 23, something like that.
I thought we were up to like 40 or 45 by now. No, not really. But it just seems like every other day a new one is like, I'm going to run for president because Orange Man bad. And look, guys, I get it. Because one of the things that I've been talking about over and over again is, yes, Donald Trump has a very unfavorable rating in the media. He has about a 92 to 95% negative press coverage rating, depending on where you look. And I get about half of that is his own damn fault. But if he was getting a fair shake from the media with the other half, I don't even think we'd be having these conversations right now. We wouldn't have a Congress trying to run him out on the rails because they just don't like him. And again, let's not forget, up until 30 seconds ago, in the grand scheme of things, every single one of these people that is screaming about how evil he is now is basically his best buddy. That's why he's so pissed. That's why he's been bulling a China shop from day one, because I gotta tell you the truth. If I had been on the Oprah Winfrey Show and been all over all these places and been on the Joe Schmo morning show on freaking MSNBC or whatever freaking channel morning Joe douche is on, then, and all of a sudden they're all talking trash about me, I would have wanted to destroy every single one of them. Because they were my friends, or at least I thought they were my friends. And maybe he's not as naive as me, because I have to admit, I try not to be, but I'm fairly trusting, and it sometimes bites me in the butt. But I understand exactly how he feels, because there have been people over the time that I started doing this over 10 years ago that I've tried to help along the way with the basic idea that, you know, a rising tide lifts all boats. And at some point, if I'm helping you, I hope at some point you're going to turn around and do a solid for me if I ever need one. That doesn't always work, but it hasn't stopped me from trying to do it. But I understand the scorched earth approach when you realize that somebody that you thought was being genuine with you was only using you to get what they could from you and then left you behind. So I understand exactly how he felt, and I understand why he was raging on Twitter. And I don't think a lot of people have thought that part of it through, because everybody that's been trashing him for 3 years was his best buddy and wanting pictures taken with him until the day that he declared.
Oh, and wanting his money. There's a picture circulating on Facebook of Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton all buddy and shaking Trump's hand, and the picture was taken after Trump donated thousands and thousands of dollars to both of their freaking charities.
Yeah, let's
Trump the racist, you know.
Yeah, let's not also forget that Trump the racist got an award from the NAACP.
Right. Well, one more thing, I know, and we ran right through our break.
Break, brother. We're all the way back around to the top of the hour.
Have you seen Ben Shapiro is pushing this guy? A lot of people don't know who he is, and I'm just kind of figuring out who he is. But Ami Horowitz has announced that he is running for Democrat Party's nomination, and he is not a Democrat. And all he needs is 65,000 people to donate $1 to get him in for the debate. And I'll read his words exactly. 2020 announcement. I'm running for the Democrat Party's presidential nomination because all their current candidates are insane. If 65,000 people donate $1, I will be on stage at next month's Dem debate to say that to their face. Donate at AmiForAmerica.org.
Okay, I'm giving this dude $1 as soon as we're done tonight. I'm not even playing. At least $1, just cause.
Well, how awesome would that be to get somebody on the debate stage to basically tell the rest of them they're all insane?
I would pay money to see that, which is why as soon as we're done tonight, I'm giving him $1.
He only needs $65,000 and he's in.
I know, right? I mean, yeah. I mean, it's better than giving it to Swalwell or getting a half-eaten bag of chips. All right, so why don't you remind folks where it is that they can hang out with you, because we're all the way back around to the top of the hour, and your voice is not holding out well, or I'd ask you to hang on a while longer.
You can find me on Twitter at Thelonious Irish, and you can find me on Facebook. It's just Daniel Wright. Yes, my name is not Thelonious Murphy.
Are you sure? I'm still pretty sure I've seen that on your ID. All right, no, I'm just kidding. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this episode of Robinson and Wright. For those of you hanging out for the late shift, stay tuned. We'll be right back with America Off the Rails once I do a quick reset. Again, thank you guys for taking the time to tune in with us tonight. Thank you for making Wednesday night on KLRN Radio the great success it is. We actually have some new content coming soon, so we're hoping to make every night a great success on KLRN Radio. Because it's not just Wednesday night, folks. Chat lives matter every night. We'll see you guys next week. For those hanging out for Off the Rails, I will see you in just a minute. I am Rick Robinson. Take care. God bless.